Let me translate a beat into it.
What? That's such a weird
goodness.
word.
How the heck?
No.
Souffle? What? Oh, I was close!
What?
I was close!
What?
How did you know what it's? Dude, I'm opening English. I'm opening English to French.
That's what
we've
I've got
been
open right
doing.
now.
Have you not?
Oh my god, I haven't. No, wait, I know this. I know this. I know this.
Wait, what?
I don't even know what it is supposed to be.
Wait. I know what the word is.
And it's not even a French word.
What the heck is this?
Leaf.
That wasn't a French. Okay.
I don't
This
know.
game is a
They're
scam.
not picking French words.
Game is a scam.
I think there's always like
Disqualify
one
French
that's
word?
close to English.
Oh,
and
what even
people
are these words? Let me translate this into English. This is a weird word. Okay, you go to a doctor's. They put something in your mouth. For like DNA.
Oh my god.
We
Oh my
allowed
god, I
to
know,
do
I
that?
know,
They
I know,
put
I know.
like an item in your mouth.
I don't even know this.
Oh, temperature thermometer. Thermometer. It's a
What? That's literally the thing with what you wash the floor. That's
Alright guys, this one's easy. This one's easy. This one's easy. This is me. This is my sister. This is my dad. This is my
How do
mom.
you spell familiar?
You typed it in English.
Oh my god, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. I did it wrong. This is AIDS. Oh, it is.
Famil.
It's familiar. Oh wait, this one's very almost English word.
what?
What the?
No, it's not what you think.
Oh my god. Okay.
Christ. Wait.
It's familiar. Oh wait, this one's very almost English word.
What?
What the?
No, it's not what you think.
Oh my god. Okay.
Christ. Wait, I know this. I know this. I know this. Wait.
Oh.
Oh wait, this one's very almost English word.
What?
What the?
No, it's not what you think.
Oh my god. Okay.
Christ. Wait, I know this. I know this. I know this.
Oh
Yes, boys.
no! No!
Bar.
Cylinder.
That's not really what I was saying.
A60, you have no excuse to lose this game.
Yeah, you have no excuse to lose this.
How am I winning?
How are you win? What?
No. Think Minecraft. It won't change tools.
What the heck?
It won't change colors. Help me.
What did you do, bad?
I don't know.
Think
I know,
Minecraft.
I know.
Oh, oops.
What?
Yes.
Yes!
Okay.
Oh my god, I know.
No, again. Oops.
Yes! Yes!
Okay.
Oh my god, I know.
No, again. Oops.
Yes!
Yeah.
A60's the only one who didn't get it.
That's
How is your own language?
Don't focus on this one. Focus on this one.
Pangea.
No, what? It's not us.
Come on, guys. Come on. This is easy, I
Oh.
promise.
What is this?
Think continents. Yes! Come on!
Wait.
No!
I still managed to misspell Africa.
The rains down in Africa.
oh again.
Haha, that's what you get, Frenchman. Wait, and then there's a person,
What?
and he's here, and he's doing a
Got
thing.
it.
I know
No.
what this is. I know what this is. Wait.
Ah, dude, I literally.
Oh my god.
What the? Huh?
I have a question. How like in the French thing only put English words all the
I
time?
don't even know.
Oh.
I mean, this one is
I
French
should've
too,
looked at
but still.
Yeah.
Oh, I got third. Not bad.
Imagine getting beaten by an Englishman.
Ow!
Alright, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Alright.
Think Bad Boy Halo.
Yeah.
What?
Oh my god, that was so
It's
quick.
because he made the words.
He finally
Yes.
got it. He finally got it.
Come on, man.
What type bad? You put that jasa kasapa. Huh?
Some of the words I had to get creative with.
Bad's just gonna know all of them.
What is it?
Burger.
Oh,
Burger.
Bad's just gonna
Hamburger.
know all of them.
Ah.
He says about his struggling.
Think what I'm highlighting. What
oh
am I
my goodness.
Oh,
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, it's cheeseburger. Okay.
It gave me both options
What?
that already happened.
Oh my god.
What
Yeah,
the?
this one.
Bad, you can't take this.
Yeah, I've seen one that.
I don't know what
That's
I
not
put
allowed,
for
this
this.
one.
I can't remember.
Really?
Oh, this one came
This
up for
one's
me. I didn't
stupid.
choose
I
it.
can't.
What
May
is
I
it?
say, by
What's
the way?
this?
Huh?
What?
Oh.
Jesus.
In love with the
I
brown
can't
circle.
remember.
Do
I
do
quit.
you something?
Oh,
Do you like something? There
Oh,
you
I
go.
won't guess. I'll wait
You
till
love.
someone else
Do
guesses.
you love?
No.
Yes.
Oh
You
my
spelled
God.
potatoes wrong, you idiot.
That's how you spell potato.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
has
Look
to
it
be
up
in
right
there.
now.
It should be in
You
there.
didn't even type it, so you don't
Wait.
get to complain.
Dumb bow.
Oh, no. Two. Oh, I got so many good choices. No.
Bow.
Oh, no.
Dumb bow.
Oh, no. Two. Oh, Oh, I got so many good choices.
No, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
I literally just did it out of instinct.
Alright, guys.
Whoever's the fastest at typing.
Oh my
I
god.
might have put some in more than one.
Okay, I can't. All of these are so dumb. Why would you? There's like 20 letter words.
Oh, it's not.
It's not muffin this time.
Oh, what
I
is
don't
it?
even know how to draw this. I only picked this line.
What did you pick?
I wonder.
What?
What?
Oh my god.
How? What the heck is spoofy? Oh, it's his name.
No, it's Muppet. No, it's Muppet.
Oh.
What the heck is spoofy? Oh, it's his name.
No, it's Muppet. No, it's Muppet.
Oh, I get it.
So,
I get it, get it.
the Muppet's back.
What? Oh my! I'm so slow at typing, dude.
Creeper.
Oh,
You
man.
got your name.
Blue
was
creeper,
last.
okay?
I had to draw it quick. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, okay. Wait, this is a tough one. Okay, this is a
wonder
slightly
what
different
the
one.
What did I put for this one?
No way! No
Dude, how?
way!
What did I put for this one?
No way! No
Dude, how?
way!
How?
How did I get that?
What?
How did I?
Wait,
Dude.
what did I put?
Oh, I know.
How did I get that?
That's insane.
I can't remember this one.
Imagine
two
he
things together.
doesn't get
Like,
our
make
own
the
words.
connection.
He
Uh,
doesn't get
oh!
his own words.
He put the words and doesn't remember how.
Right?
I'm gonna win this.
Muffin. Yeah. Okay. Oh my god, the score.
It's so close. It's so close.
Oh, okay. I'm not even gonna type anything. You need to guess this. Look at how many numbers are in the thing.
Oh, I know. What is it?
Let's
What?
go, boys.
Thing.
Oh, I know. What is it?
Let's
What?
go, boys.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Look at how many numbers are in the thing. There's no numbers in the thing.
You understood it.
There's no number in this thing,
Dude,
so I'm not in.
you know your words.
Oh come on, you guys should have been able to guess
Wait,
this
what?
one, too.
Almost potato, isn't that? But it is.
Multiple
Yeah.
people said Vincent. Why?
I don't
I don't know
know
why.
because I thought
We can't be in. I can't be in. We can't put number.
Huh?
What? Huh?
Wait, what?
Oh, got it.
Oh my god. Wait. Yeah.
I'm not up to date with
Yay.
memes.
It's
It's
think about
literally what
you're
it
looking
is.
at.
It's literally what it is.
It's what the fish is
Then
in.
3 iron. You make it with 3 iron. 3
There
iron.
is like
No! No!
Par?
Blah.
No! No!
Par? Yes.
Oh
You
my
spelled potatoes wrong, you idiot.
That's how you spell potato.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It has
Look
to
it
be
up
in
right
there.
now.
It should be in
You
here.
didn't even type it, so you don't
Wait.
get to complain.
Dumb bow.
Oh, come on! No.
Dumb bow.
Oh, come on! No.
Ooh, oh, I got so many good choices.
No, that's so dumb.
I literally just did it out of instinct.
Alright, guys.
Whoever's the fastest at typing.
Oh my
I
god.
might have put some in more than one.
Okay, I can't. All of these are so dumb. Why would you? There's like 20 letter words.
Oh, it's not.
It's not muffin this time.
Oh, what
I
is
don't
it?
even know how to draw this. I only picked this line.
What did you pick?
I wonder.
What?
What?
Oh my god.
How? What the heck is spoofy? Oh, it's his name.
No, it's Muppet. No, it's Muppet.
Oh,
Oh my god, oh my
Not
god, oh my
one.
god, I need
Okay,
to
I saw it.
Okay, let
Did
me
you
just
think
try.
I wasn't gonna see?
Yeah, you finally saw it. Takes you like
Yeah.
8 years to do anything because you're just slow.
No, I saw that you were just being nice to me to be nice to me. But as far as I'm concerned,
So you're mad at me because I was being nice to you.
No,
you hear
I'm-
yourself.
I'm mad that you.
Oh
were
my
only-
god, I
no,
need to be
I'm
more
not
mean.
mad.
How do I do this?
I'm just
I'm actually not very
a
good at coming
little-
up with mean stuff.
Oh, you're
Someone
almost-
joined?
Go away,
Hello?
A60, you muffin.
Hey,
Not-
dude.
You know what? You can
A60,
stay.
I was being nice to Bad Boy Halo, and he's
Oh my
mad at me
goodness.
because I was being nice to him.
No.
Does that
I
make
don't
more
want-
sense to you?
There's something going on. I'm not. No.
I mean, in
No.
Bad Boy Yellow it might make sense, but for me, no, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You
He
asked
just
him
has
to
a
come
small
in?
brain, but that's okay.
Did you?
No,
invite
I did not.
A60?
He just showed up.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
two are gonna mess with me together.
We're
Wait,
not doing anything.
Are you gonna do another video of, oh look, A60 and I are really nice to Bad Boy Halo, and
message
he
A60.
didn't see
Be
what was
rude
coming
to
or
him.
whatever. He
It's
didn't know what
for
was
the
going on.
video.
Oh, we were
Just
so
say
nice to him. He's a
anything
troll.
to
Is
be
that
rude.
the joke here? Is that why you came on? Hmm?
Wow, you're so smart. You can predict exactly what's going on.
I knew it. I
Yeah,
knew
you
it.
knew it. Small brain.
But why are you like that?
Yeah, why?
Why am I like what?
Why do you always think like everything is like, yeah, is every plan that they're trying
Dude,
to
dude,
pull?
it's
No.
okay. It's okay. He has
You
a small
guys
brain.
do it all the time, okay? Literally. You ask why.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, and all in my blood. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, and all in my blood. Cheated on on my baby. You can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, and all in my blood. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, and all in my blood. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. That is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on the tractor, and all in my butt. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangler on my booty. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing.
Ancients.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. That is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, ha, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up off that porch. Now, can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Riding on a tractor, and all in my butt. Cheated on my baby, you can go and ask her. My life is a movie, but riding the cow.
This fucking audio was made by Face Slasher. Shout out to all my niggas.
was made by checks and balance.
Shorty like it. Shorty like it. Shorty like $1,000 plate, fine china. She beautiful every day. I don't mind that. Jump in the pussy like a lake. I'm a guy for a last man. Was a pussy had a vagina. Lost in your eyes like dust.
This fucking audio was made by Fake Slasher. Shout out to all my niggas.
I'm suspicious all the time. It's because I.
Dude, I bet in real life he always like he's cautious about everything in case he's getting
suspicious
trolled.
about- Imagine the cashier.
Is the cashier supposed to step in trying to troll me? Oh my goodness.
Hong Kong, one time Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong Kong, Hong Kong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong Kong, Hong Kong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong Kong, Hong Kong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me.
Obviously, that would be absurd.
Okay.
But what wouldn't be absurd?
You know what?
One time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong Kong, Hong Kong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my long. Go back to Hong Kong, I'll send you back to Hong Kong. Terror one ton, let me, mother, let me long time, long time. One ton Hong Kong, Hong Kong, one ton Hong Kong, one time, one time, one time, one time. Let me long time, feed on my. Turn around and look up. Total shock fills your body. Oh no, it's you again. I can never forget those eyes, 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 eyes. 'Cause baby tonight, the creeper's trying to steal our stuff again. 'Cause baby tonight, grab your big shovel and bolt again, bolt again. And run, run until it's done, done, until the sun comes up in the morn. 'Cause baby tonight, the creeper's trying to steal our stuff again, stuff again. Just when you think you're safe, overhear some hissing from right behind, right behind. That's a nice life you have, shame it's gotta end at this time, 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 time. Blows up, then your health bar drops and you could use a one-up. Get inside, don't be tardy. So now you're stuck in there, half a heart is left, but don't die, 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 die. 'Cause baby tonight, the creeper's trying to steal our stuff again. 'Cause baby tonight, grab your big shovel and bolt again, bolt again. And run, run until it's done, done, until the sun comes up in the morn. 'Cause baby tonight, the creeper's trying to steal our stuff again.
You're mine. Dig up diamonds and crack those diamonds and make some armor. Get it, baby, going forge that like you so MLG Pro. The sword's made of diamonds, so come at me, bro. Training in your room under the torchlight, hone that form to get you ready for the big fights. Every single day in the home light, creepers out prowling. Alright, look at me, look at you. Take my revenge, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm a warrior, baby, what else is new? And my blade's gonna tear
'Cause
through you.
baby
Bring it.
tonight, the creeper's trying to steal all our stuff again.
Gather your stuff. Yeah, let's take back the world.
Baby tonight, grab your sword, armor, and gold.
It's on.
Take your revenge. So fight, fight like it's the last, last night of your lifetime. Show them your body. 'Cause baby tonight, the creeper's trying to steal our stuff again. 'Cause baby tonight, grab your big shovel and bolt again, bolt again. And run, run until it's done, done, until the sun comes up in the morning. was the creepers and the skeletons. Blew down the doors and boxed us in. Arrows whizzing by like streaks of light. I tried all that I could to stay and fight as the undead roamed the street. Families broken at my feet, life itself suspended by a thread. Oh, why was it that I wasn't dead? I gaze off into the boundless skyline. No body was laid in the sun. I used to rule the world. Chunks would load when I gave the word. Now every night I go stowaway. Hide from the mobs I used to slay. They once were terrified. Every time I looked into their eyes, villagers would cheer my way. For a hero I was, that's what they'd say. One minute we had it all, next our world began to fall away from all that it had once become. They all cried for my
Attention, all gamers. Please rise for the Gamer National Anthem.
Now put your paws up. I'm just a pup, don't know how to stop. I'm shaking my own little tail. Decided to wag, had to beg, you didn't even notice.
いよい飛んだよ修知学園周知の事実みんな憧れの生徒会会長の家具屋さん石上くんと初期の時間ゴールデンメンバーと思いませんか初期の時間初期の時間乱れた国で生きる私たち誰もが本音隠してるけどそんな問題もラブ探偵チカが解決するわ IQ さんでも任せなさいシュキシュキシュキシャキシャキ先生と参加してたらすぐ卒業シュキシュキドキドキ50セラいざやったんだせ恋したらひどい力の限り輝くのだよチカッとチカッとチカチカ森おかえりよいよい飛んだよ修知学園
I can't really stand your breath in.
Don't ask questions you don't wanna know. Learn my lesson way too long ago. To be talking to you, but I don't know. Should've taken a break, not an Oxford comma. Take what I want when I want it, and I want you. Bad, bad news. One of us is gonna lose. I'm the power. Nico, 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 Nico.
Nathan, you sure you know what you talk about? Calling my real life content trash like what you know about? My cat's got more views than your whole account. Woo! Even though you driving that McLaren P dog, you acting like Minecraft chill at the top, but it kinda flop, kinda like when you hit us with that bop. Now we aiming for the top, cause you know we out here. Yeah. Roblox, no, we never stop. Would never go back to the block game, what a shame. I'm just not out for the fame.
Oh no, you're the king of the vlogs, what will I ever do? You're not David, you're not Logan, you're not Jake, who are you? I have the smartest Chan in the house, that's true. But when it comes down to views, I always get more than you. Is that your girl? That's my merch, you lose. My name's in your title, way to use. We know our views. Preston plays Minecraft, we all knew. His flow is like a creeper, it really blew. Nate, I'll be in your vlogs no more. it comes down to views, I always get more than you. Is that your girl? That's my merch, you lose. My name's in your title, way to use. We know you do it just for all our views. Preston plays Minecraft, we all knew. His flow is like a creeper, it really blew. Nate, I'll be in your vlog.
Nathan, you sure you know what you talk about? Call my real life content trash like. What you know about? My cat's got more views than your whole account. Whoa. Even though you driving that McLaren P dog, you acting like Minecraft still at the top, but it kinda flop, kinda like when you hit it with that box.
Yo, okay, alright, welcome to the art. No, I don't have much time.
Oh no, you're the king of the vlogs, what will I ever do? You're not David, you're not Logan, you're not Jake, who are you? I have the smallest chan in the house, that's true. But when it comes down to views, I always get my name's in your title, way too you do just for all our saying I like Charlie's diss track way more.
While so fat, like it's Alquito. Second diss track, call this the sequel. Said I had to move a text to make some friends. Yet the only thing I've made was your chan. All your rivals doing, man, I really can't. Only bangers cause you're proceeding in. So you call Nicole old gold digger. Wait, I think she's a punk digger. Let me give all your moves sneak peek with MC Roblox next week. Kiss me for leaving MC Preston. No boom, missing thing. Saying my real life did some shout. Mine get more views in 1 hour. All of this diss track was content cause I just paid for your whole rent. One last verse from the guy who was just like I walk around while you go tail. Okay, yeah, that was rude, but I can't do that as much as Nathan, you sure you know what you talk about? Call my real life content trash like. What you know about? My cat's got more views than your whole account. Whoa. Even though you driving that McLaren P dog, you acting like Minecraft still at the top, but it kinda flop, kinda like when you hit us with that box. Now we aiming for the top, cause you know we out here. Yeah, Roblox, no, we never stop. Would never go back to the block game, what a shame. I'm just not out for the fame.
Oh no, you're the king of the vlogs, what will I ever do? You're not David, you're not Logan, you're not Jake, who are you? I have the smallest chan in the house, that's true. But when it comes down to views, I always get more than you. Is that your girl? That's my merch, you lose. My name's in your title, way to use. We know you do it just for all our views. Preston plays Minecraft, we all knew. His flow is like a creeper, it really blew. Hey, I'll be in your vlogs no more. Your mom calling you up
to make some friends. Yet the only thing I've made was your channel. All your virals, dude, man, I really can't. Only bangers feature pokes eating ants. So you call Nicole a gold digger. Wait, I think she's a gold digger. Let me give all your fans a sneak peek with MC Roblox next week. Just before leaving MC, Preston Noku did the same thing, saying my real life is sour. Mine get more views in 1 hour. This track was content, cause I just paid for your whole rent. One last verse from the guy who is dissed like I'm up the mountain while you go take off. Okay, yeah, that was kinda rude, but my cat dude has more views than you.
Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China? Hello, you people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million.
Creeper. Oh man. So we back in the mine, got our pickaxe swinging from side to side, side to side. This task a grueling one, hope to find some diamonds tonight, diamonds tonight. Heads up, you hear a sound, turn around and look.
I've fallen and I can't get up. 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 I've fallen and I can't get
Go. 7 years per hour here. Make it count.
And you sure you know what you talk about? Calling my real life content trash like what you know about? My cat's got more views than your hometown. Whoa! Even though you're driving that McLaren P dog, you acting like Minecraft chill at the top, but it kinda flop, kinda like when you hit us with that bop. Now we aiming for the top, cause you know we out here. Yeah. Roblox, no, but we never stop. Would never go back to the block game, what a shame. I'm just not out for the fame.
Oh no, you're the king of the vlogs, what will I ever do? You're not David, you're not Logan, you're not Jake, who are you? I have the smallest chin in the house, that's true. When it comes down to views, I always get more than you. Is that your girl? That's my merch, you lose. My name's in your title. Way to use. We know you do it just for all our views. Preston plays Minecraft, we all knew. His flow is like a creeper, it really blew. Nate, I'll be in your vlogs no more. Your mom calling you up at 444, saying I like Charlie's distract way more.
Ball so fat, like it's on keto. Second diss track, call for the sequel. Said I had to move the text to make some friends. Yet the only thing I've made was your chant. But your bio's rude, man, I really can't. Only bangers feature poke eating ant. So you call Nicole old gold digger. Wait, I think she's a gold digger. Let me give all your fans a sneak peek. Quiz MC Roblox next week. Kissed me for leading MC. Preston, no boom, did the same thing. Saying my real life vids did sour. Mine get more views in 1 hour. Hope this diss track was content, cause I just paid for your whole rent. One last verse from the guy who is dissed like I'll lift the mountain while you go take a hike. Okay, yeah, that was kinda rude, but my cat dude has more views than you.
This is not about my life or Cooper's life. This is about all mankind. There is a moment.
diss track, call this the sequel. Said I had to move to text 2 and make some friends. Yet the only thing I've made was your chan. All your bios, dude, man, I really can't. Only bangers feature poke seating and. So you call Nicole old gold digger. Wait, I think she's a poke digger. Let me give all your fans a sneak peek. With MC Roblox next week. Just before leaving MC, Preston Noble did the same thing. Saying my real life lived sour. Mine get more views in 1 hour. Hope this diss track was content, cause I just paid for your
Oh, no! Cooper! 3. Cooper, what are you doing?
Newton's third law. You gotta leave something behind.
You told me we had enough resources for both of us.
We agreed, Amelia. 90%. Detach.
I'm nosing down.
Approaching the event horizon.
No, no, no! No! No!
How much do you know about black holes? What would happen if you fell into one? Say one day you were exploring space looking for a new planet for humans to inhabit, but came across a black hole and decided, why not check it out? Would you have any chance of survival? How would you get out? Would there be a shortcut to another universe? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you fell into a black hole. Despite being black and a black hole is not a dark, empty space. In his theory of relativity, Einstein predicted how black holes are formed. When a massive star dies, it leaves a smaller, remnant core behind. If the core's mass is at least 3 times bigger than the mass of our sun, gravity overwhelms all other forces and turns the core into a black hole. But don't let its name fool you. A black hole isn't a hole at all, but rather a huge amount of matter packed into a very small space. Think of the sun, with its gravitational field 28 times stronger than Earth's. If you were to walk on the sun, you'd be 28 times heavier than you are on Earth. Now imagine squeezing 4 suns into something that's just 15 miles in diameter, the distance you can cover in a 30-minute drive. What would the gravity be like there? A black hole's gravity is so strong that even light can't get out, That's why you'll never see one, but you can detect it from the gamma ray bursts that the hole emits. These bursts, discovered by Stephen Hawking, now carry his name, Hawking radiation. Discovered by Stephen Hawking now carry his name, Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking himself believed that black holes can be passages to another universe. So if you were to fall into one, would you find yourself in an alternate dimension? Every black hole has an event horizon, the point at which gravitational pull becomes so strong you can't escape from it. The point of no return. If you found yourself outside of that point, you'd see that stars are twisted around a perfect circle of darkness. As you start being pulled toward a black hole, you'd be moving faster and faster, accelerated by the force of gravity. That's the first bad news for you, brave space traveler. The gravitational force of a black hole is very, very strong. If you fell feet first, your legs would be feeling a stronger gravitational pull than your head. Your body would be stretched apart. The most common black holes are called stellar. They can stretch about 9 miles across and be as heavy as 20 suns. If you happen to be pulled towards a stellar black hole, you'd be completely torn apart before you even reach the event horizon. So make sure to choose a supermassive one, the one that's 1,000,000 times heavier than our sun. In this case, your body would remain unharmed as you cross the event horizon, as the gravity would be pulling both your feet and your head with almost the same strength. And if you're wondering where to find one, you don't have to look too far. There's one right at the center of our Milky Way galaxy. Luckily, it's 165 quadrillion miles away from us, and will suck in neither the sun nor the planets. But don't pack your suitcase just yet. Crossing the event horizon is just the beginning of the challenge. There's a gravitational singularity at the center of the black hole, where density becomes infinite. You'd be squashed into that center and become one with the black hole. You wouldn't be able to tell anyone about your experience. However, a person observing you from outside the event horizon would see a very different picture. As you were falling into a black hole, they'd see you slowing down, getting dimmer and redder. In the end, you'd just freeze, never crossing the event horizon. This is because space and time in a black hole swap their roles. At the event horizon, time comes to a standstill, while space, on the other hand, moves forward. You wouldn't be able to turn around and escape the black hole any more than you could travel back in time. Even when the black hole eventually died, emitting all the particles it had absorbed, including your body, it would be impossible to tell whether those particles were you. Stephen Hawking, however, found a way in which the information about your body wouldn't be lost. He theorized that there are alternative universes with different histories. This means in one reality you fell into a black hole. In the second one, there was no black hole. It's impossible to be certain from outside of the event horizon whether there's a black hole or not until you fall in there. If you cross the event horizon and there was a black hole, sayonara. But if you happen to be in a reality where the black hole didn't exist, you'd still be alive, just in a different universe. There would be no way for you to get back to ours. Would you dare explore the possibility? Are you drawn to black holes in the universe? Very soon we'll take you on your next hypothetical adventure. What if Earth's orbit ventured as far from the Sun as Pluto and got as close to it as Venus? Would humans be able to survive such extreme changes in temperature? And if we could, what are the chances that Earth would follow this? And here's what would happen: slightly pulling us towards themselves too. That, together with the Earth's velocity, makes the planet's orbit elliptical. The difference between the farthest and the closest point to the Sun in our orbit is less than 5 million kilometers. That's nothing compared to the overall distance of 150 million kilometers from us to the Sun. But what if that distance was much, much greater? The Earth orbits the Sun at just the right distance. Not so far away that we turn into an icy rock, and not so close that we burn to a crisp. We are in the Sun's habitable zone, where water can exist in liquid form. Even the slightest shift in the Earth's orbit would change that. The closer we got to the Sun, the more heat would hit the planet. Think it would be nice to have summer all year long, everywhere on Earth? I bet you'd change your mind pretty fast. As the heat became more extreme, all the ice on the planet would start to melt. Global sea levels would rise 70 meters, enough to cover London's Tower Bridge and flood most of the planet. With little land left to absorb the scorching heat from the sun, global temperatures would skyrocket. Our oceans would begin to evaporate. All this would leave us with a tremendous amount of carbon dioxide in the air, and little to no water left. As we approach the orbit of Venus, the surface temperature of the Earth would go up to 460 degrees. Being outside would give you severe burns, no matter how much sunscreen you put on your skin. After getting an incredible suntan on our vacation near Venus, we'd head back across the solar system all the way to Pluto. The Earth would cool down on the way, but it wouldn't matter for most life forms on the planet. They wouldn't have survived the extreme heat. Maybe, if we moved slow enough, some new life form would evolve on the Earth while it's traveling to the habitable zone again. But that life wouldn't last too long either. The upcoming winter would be long and very cold. If there was any water left on Earth, it would freeze as we reached the minus 220 degree temperature of Pluto's orbit. If the Earth kept moving at the same speed it does today, it would take about 20 years to make a full orbit, from the hottest spot closest to the Sun to the coldest edge of our solar system. That is, if we didn't collide with any other planet on the way, which isn't all that unlikely. But it is likely that we'll be making this trip solo. The Moon might not be able to handle the pressure of this extreme orbital journey. Lifeless and moonless, the Earth would at least get to enjoy some spectacular views. Who knows, maybe we'd sail too close to Jupiter and become one of the moons of the gas giant. But that's a story for another What If. Nothing can travel faster than light. But what if we switch the rules a little? Imagine a world where the speed of light was slower, about the speed that sound travels at. In turn, the sound in that hypothetical world would be accelerated until it reached the speed of light. How would the sound sound and the light look? And why would that universe be doomed? This is What If, and here's what would happen if the speed of light and sound switched. Light travels at a constant speed of 300,000 kilometers per second. If you personally were able to travel at that kind of speed, you could zip around the Earth's equator 7.5 times in just 1 second. If sound could travel that fast, well, we'll get to that part in a moment. First, let me explain something. There's one big difference between the speed of light and the speed of sound. Light speed is a universal constant. It's always the same for every observer. For sound, it's different. The speed of sound depends on the density of the medium it travels through. What we usually refer to as the speed of sound is the speed of sound waves passing through dry air at 20 degrees Celsius. That speed is 343 meters per second, and that's almost 1,000,000 times slower than the speed of light. If light traveled that slow, how different would our universe have turned out to be? Since light speed is a universal speed limit, changing it would completely change how the universe works. With the new speed limit of 343 meters per second, everything would be so slow. You'd find that moving at 0.2 kilometers per hour would only be possible with a rocket, or at least a nuclear-powered car. Driving it would be a challenge as you wouldn't be able to see far ahead, but you would experience a cool Doppler effect around you. Things in front of your car would seem blue. In your rearview mirror, everything would look red. In that world, it would take hours to send a message to someone on the other side of the planet. You know what would be even more annoying? Talking to someone who's further than a hand's distance away from you. The delays in visuals would make it look as if you were video calling someone with a bad signal, only in person. We would never be able to make it to space, because to do that, we'd need to escape from the gravitational influence of Earth. That requires the speed greater than the speed of light in our hypothetical world. We'd never reach it to begin with. There would be no moon landing, no solar system exploration, not even the International Space Station. On a more disturbing note, the chemical reactions in your body would slow down. That can't be good. Essential functions like your metabolism depend on those reactions. I can't tell you exactly how this would end, but it sure wouldn't take long. All that, and we haven't even got to the speed of sound yet. For the sake of your survival, let's say that your body adjusted to the slow motion inside it. Now, sound enters the game. It's faster than light now, so you would hear everything before you got to see it. Because sound relies on the environment, in order for this to happen, air would have to turn incredibly dense. We're talking as dense as neutron stars. Not a single living organism would survive under such strong pressure. Not to mention that all this breaks the rules of physics. Nothing can exceed the universal speed limit, and if sound did travel faster, that's not good news for anyone. The universe would collapse upon itself long before we got to experience that cool Doppler effect. Next time, try increasing the speed of light instead of decreasing it. That's a story for another What If.
Imagine you and some of your best buddies are traveling by plane to what you think will be a weekend to remember. Suddenly, you experience some bad turbulence, but it's nothing you haven't felt before. Then, it gets worse. The plane drops through the sky, luggage falls from above. You grab hold of the seat arm, your knuckles whiten as you do so. The next thing you know, you're freezing cold, still fastened to your chair, in a part of the plane that broke off. You crash into the earth, but miraculously, you're still alive. You don't know it yet, but you've landed in one of the most unforgiving environments known to man. There's nothing but mountains around you. No vegetation, no animals, nothing. You are at least alive, but soon you'll be hungry. It won't be long now until your friend tells you, "I'm gonna eat the pilot." As unbelievable as this sounds, it's exactly what happened. This is the survivor story that eclipses all others. It's the tale of heroism and sadness, a brutal story, and one we just can't imagine being a part of. Let us start from the beginning. It's October 12, 1972, a Thursday. Friends who play on the same rugby team from Montevideo, Uruguay, are on their way to a match in Chile. There are 45 of them on board the plane. Not only the young, strong, and fit players, but some of the team's family members, as well as some supporters, and 5 crew members. It's expensive to fly commercially to Chile, so they opted for the cheapest option, which in this case was chartering an Air Force plane. What they don't know is that this American-made Fairchild FH-227D has the nickname the Lead Sled, owing to its high weight and relatively weak engines. They'll also soon find out why it has such an atrocious safety record. All they know now is it's the cheapest way to fly over the Andes mountain range to play what will be a fun game of rugby in Santiago. That first part of the trip is cut short due to a terrible storm over the Andes, and they're forced to stop over in Mendoza, Argentina. There's a direct route to get them to Santiago from there, but the plane can't fly the 25,000 to 26,000 feet required to get over the mountains. Instead, they'll take a route that looks like a U-turn. This route will skip the highest peaks and instead find a way around them. It's now Friday the 13th and they set off again. The atmosphere is fun. The rugby ball is being thrown around the plane. It's all laughter and games. One of the players, Nando Parado, gives his window seat up for his friend so his buddy can get a better look at the mountains. Nando has no idea that this small gesture will end up saving his life. Not long after, the turbulence starts. That this seat up for his friend so his buddy can get a better look at the mountains. Nando Parado gives his window seat up for his friend so his buddy can get a better look at the mountains. Nando Parado gives his being thrown around the plane. It's all laughter and games. One of the players, Nando Parado, gives his window seat up for his friend so his buddy can get a better look at the mountains. Nando has no idea that this small gesture will end up saving his life. Not long after, the turbulence starts. At first, no one takes it seriously, but then someone points out that the mountains seem to be very close to the plane, like right outside. What they don't know is the pilot and co-pilot have made a terrible mistake. They told air traffic controllers that they would reach the airport in a minute. They couldn't see much due to the clouds, and they were wrong about that minute. They were actually 11 minutes away. They were still in the mountains and hadn't reached the safe spot where they could turn right toward the airport. They descended anyway and were hit by more turbulence as they were right in the middle of mountains where the winds were chaotic. The plane was thrown around, the clouds parted, and the pilots saw a black ridge directly ahead of them. The plane attempted to pull up and accelerate, and now the passengers knew they were in trouble. The aircraft hit the ridge, tearing off the rear of the plane and sending the plane hurtling forward. They are still about 13,800 feet above sea level when they likely collided with another mountain, causing the wings to come off and leaving just the front part of the fuselage. Those at the back of the plane have been thrown out into the mountain range. Some are alive in the plane, but there is no time to think. Suddenly, what's left of the plane hits a snow-covered mountain. The fact that even this much of the plane survived is incredible, but what's even more incredible is what happens next. The plane begins sliding down the mountain like a sled, but somehow doesn't collide with any rocky outcrops or boulders, sliding down and down the mountain until finally it comes to a stop at 11,710 feet above sea level. Seats have been uprooted and bodies have been bashed against the front of the pilot's cabin. People are strewn everywhere, but many of the passengers have somehow survived. Some are screaming, their limbs twisted, parts of the plane stuck into them. But they're surrounded by glaciers so remote they don't even have a name. No one goes there, and there's little hope of being found. It's freezing cold and it's hard to breathe because the air is so thin at this altitude. Of the survivors, those that are least injured begin to help the less fortunate. Some have broken bones, some are almost dead from internal injuries. Nando is in a coma and will remain in one for 3 days. Of the 45 passengers aboard the plane, 12 of them died immediately when the plane hit the mountain or fell out the back of the destroyed aircraft. Some bodies are found still strapped to their chairs covered in snow and not far from the crash site. The first night is brutally cold, with temperatures getting as low as -22 degrees Fahrenheit. The survivors huddle into the fuselage and try to block up the holes with suitcases. They all mistakenly think that a rescue operation will find them, and this will be their only night on the mountain. They could not be more wrong. What they don't realize is that the plane's white coloring means it cannot be seen from the air. 5 more people die from their injuries on that first night. Nando in his coma doesn't know 5 more people die from their injuries on that first night. Nando in his coma doesn't know that his mother is dead and his sister is dying. Both were only on the flight because Nando was told he could use the empty seats for free. Inviting them would turn out to be the biggest regret of his life. The next day, the injured are attended to, some still screaming because their legs and arms have been broken in many places. The pilot is dead. The co-pilot, who made the terrible mistake, is found crushed under debris but alive. He tells the survivors that he has a handgun and asks them to shoot him and put an end to his pain. They don't kill him, but he dies soon after. But now they need food. At high altitudes and such cold temperatures, the body burns calories extremely fast in an attempt to stay warm. All of the luggage is searched, and while there is an endless stock of cigarettes and lots of booze, there isn't much food. In total, there are 8 chocolate bars, a tin of mussels, 3 jars of jam, a tin of almonds, and some candy and a few bottles of wine. The survivors immediately make a rationing plan. It's next to nothing for so many people, and they have no idea how long it needs to last them. They have water at the very least, being able to melt it and funnel into empty wine bottles. Days pass and more die. On the 10th day, Nando, who's now conscious, holds his sister as she dies in his arms. He would later say that he went to sleep and woke up in hell. And yet, it will get worse, because they then heard on a transistor radio they had found in the wreckage that the search for them was being called off. They knew they were alone, cold, and starving. It was at this point of extreme desperation that Nando had told a friend, "I'm going to eat the pilot." In fact, a few of the survivors had been rolling the same idea over in their minds. One of them later told the media, "Our common goal was to survive, but what we lacked was food." We had long since run out of the meager pickings we'd found on the plane, and there was no vegetation or animal life to be found. After just a few days, we were feeling the sensation of our own bodies consuming themselves just to remain alive. They didn't see it as cannibalism. If they were to survive and see their families again, it was what they had to do. There was no choice, eat your buddies or die. There were 27 people still alive at this point, which is a lot of mouths to feed. They started with the pilots, stripping the bodies of all the possible meat, including the organs, as their starving brains told them, "Eat more, eat everything, don't waste a bit." On day 17, disaster struck again. In the middle of the night, they heard a noise, what one of them later described as sounding like wild horses running at them. It was an avalanche. Snow burst through the hole in the plane and the entire fuselage was packed tight. Those alive scrambled to dig for air and find their friends. 8 more died and the rest were in the dark, buried in snow, with little air to breathe for 3 days. In time, the snow would melt and the fuselage would again be sitting on top of the snow. The days passed and they survived by eating more of the dead. They smoked cigarettes and went out on little exploratory missions, but after just a few hundred meters, they'd be too tired. The snow was too deep and the air too thin for their weakened state. They were also affected by snow blindness, essentially a sunburning of the eyes that comes from the sun reflecting off the snow. To fight back against their surroundings, they made makeshift snowshoes and sunglasses so they could stray farther. Even then, they were surrounded on all sides by dangerous crevasses. One of the survivors would later say, "We felt like insects trapped in the hugest forces of nature." They were right. There's almost no place on Earth where it would be harder for humans to survive. On one sojourn, they found the other part of the fuselage. Inside were batteries for the plane radio, as well as some chocolate, a little candy, and comic books. They stayed there all night, reading the comics by the light of the fire they had built. For a while, they had hoped that they could use the batteries, but it soon became apparent that hooking up a radio with lots of wires was not something any of them possessed the know-how to do. As Nando later said, "We were very depressed." For him, the only option now was to walk right out of the mountains. They were aware that Chile was west and remembered that the pilot had said they weren't far away from their destination, but they had no way of knowing that they were still 37 miles from the nearest road. But that wouldn't be an easy hike. It was 37 miles of glaciers and rough terrain, and they were far from experienced outdoorsmen. But Nando knew they had to walk over the mountain range to Chile. This would go. Nando and 2 others named Roberto Canessa and Antonio Vicentin. On day 61, when the men set off, only 16 survivors remained alive. Some were sick and everyone was malnourished and beaten by the elements. Before they left, a man named Carlitos Wire, had they not had that, they would have surely frozen to death on their hike to freedom. It took them 3 days to climb the first mountain. Nando expected to see green and turned back and gave his food to the others. Nando and Canessa both said, "We'll die, but we'll die trying." They didn't die. They walked for days, almost passing out from exhaustion. But on day 8 of their walk, they found a river. On the other side of the river, the man came back. He had brought with him a piece of paper and a pen. He tied them to a rock and "No food. We cannot walk anymore. There are more of us in the mountain. Where are we?" and threw it back. The man went to find help. So, we're finally when he was ready. Pilots asking how they could be tracked by professionals years later, and even with the latest equipment, they found it hard and very, very dangerous. On day 71, the first of the team was picked up, and on day 72, the rest were taken. All were suffering from various ailments, but all of those who had still been alive eventually recovered. And in fact, only one of them is not alive today. Once the newspapers had stopped cheering for the survivors, many began to ask just how they had survived so long without food. It was impossible, literally impossible. Then, a photograph taken by the rescue they had done, and many in the public turned on them, calling them cannibal last resort. He said, "We tried to eat strips of leather torn from pieces of luggage, though we knew that the chemicals they'd been found only in edible upholstery foam. It was either feast on dead friends, but 16 of the survivors decided with that in mind, do whatever it took to stay alive, and because of it, they made it down off the mountain. With that in mind, would you island the real Battle Royale?" Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.
We all know
want to bite us. Whether it's our evolution or our culture, we have a habit of blaming spiders. We think that they bite us all the time. Any unexplained bump or rash, we can say definitive example. It's always fun to joke that everything, including spiders in Australia, want to kill you, right? Oh, g'day, got bit by a spider. But just guess how many people died from spider bites like that from the very venomous funnel web spider in the last, let's make it interesting, 40 years. Just guess for a second. I can tell you, it's 1. Contrast this tiny number with the number of people in the US alone each year that are bitten by dogs, and suddenly spiders don't seem quite as nasty. Come here. Come here, little spider. Come here. Hey, get over here. Come here, little spider. Hey. This isn't to say that spiders don't bite people, they definitely do. It's just that we seem to think because of our spider bias that spider bites are much more common and brown recluse and black widow. No, the more alive black widow. There we go. However, mostly thanks to the development of anti-venom, there have been almost 0 deaths combined between these two spiders in the last few decades. In the United States, there hasn't been a death by black widow since 1983 if you don't include Endgame. Not only are black widow since 1980 few decades, and almost 0 deaths combined between these two spiders in the last few decades. In the United States, there hasn't been a death by black widow since 1983 if you don't include Endgame. Not only are potentially dangerous spiders rarely deadly, we are terrible at identifying spider bites in the first place. For example, in a recent study in Southern California, which does have black widow spiders, out of 200 people who came in saying they definitely got bit by a spider, less than 4% of them actually got bit by a spider, and this is consistent across the literature. The vast majority of the time, we mistakenly blame spiders. It's hard to even get statistics like this because of misreporting and misremembering our inherent spider bias. It's fine. It's really fine. They're mostly fine. There you go. Adding to all of this, yes, most spiders are venomous, but almost none of them can physically bite into us even if they wanted to. We have identified around 40,000 species of spider worldwide. Out of all of these species, how many of them do you think can both bite us and have venom that is dangerous to us? Well, maybe you can sense a theme here, but it's literally like 12. 12 spider bites. The fact is, most spiders on Earth do not have venom that is dangerous to us, and most spiders on Earth do not have the chelicerae, or pointy fangy mouth bits, that are capable to deliver that venom into our bodies. The daddy longlegs is probably the biggest victim of this kind of misconception. They aren't venomous in the way that would harm us, they do not have fangs that are big enough to make it into our skin, and they're not even spiders. And yet we treat them like they're secretly super deadly. We need to get over our spider bias. Now go hang on their bedroom ceilings and wait to jump on their faces when they're sleeping. It's fine. They're not even spiders. Spider-Man's comic origins got it right. Spiders really do only bite us in extreme situations. So let's just say that against all odds, a radioactive spider does bite you. What happens next? In the original comic panels, the infamous spider becomes radioactive when it accidentally finds itself in the firing line of radioactive rays. Studies do show that insects and arachnids can handle a lot more radiation than you or I could before dying, somewhere between 30 and 1500 grays, which is an increase of 10 to 500 times over what we can handle. So maybe a spider could absorb a fantastic amount of radiation. The question no one ever asks of this scenario, though, is how does this spider actually become radioactive? Now, I know the scientists in the original comics said radioactive rays, but what if that was just fancy 60s comic speak for a beam of neutrons? And I suggest this because neutron bombardment is the only common way for otherwise normal stuff to become radioactive stuff. It's called neutron activation. Very basically, neutron activation is the act of shoving neutrons into an otherwise stable atomic nucleus. This makes the nucleus bigger and unstable. It wants to return to stability. So in order to do so, it throws off particles and radiation to get back down to its unexcited state. It's kind of like that guy that you drive behind on the highway who tried to stuff too much stuff in his trunk and didn't secure all of it properly. Instead of just taking like 2 seconds to secure all of it, now he's putting your life in danger because parts of it are falling down onto the highway and maybe breaking your windshield. You don't want to stop and pull over and call AAA and you're late for the dentist already. Sorry. All normal material can be neutron activated, even spider material. You can, in theory, make a spider radioactive through neutron activation. However, it's not exposure to the spider itself that changes Peter's nerd bod. It is exposure to the spider's venom. And so the maximum dose of radiation you could receive, or Peter, depends on exactly how much venom a spider can inject into you. Take the Black Widow again. It has dangerous venom, but not very much of it. The average bite from a Black Widow only imparts 0.02 of a single milligram worth of venom into its victim, just a few sand grains worth of mass. So now let's get technical. Let's say our spider has a Black Widow's amount of venom, and after it is irradiated, that venom is somehow, through maybe neutron activation, as radioactive as something like plutonium. This is ridiculous as an assumption, but let's say it happens anyway, because this amount is so small, it has to be really radioactive, or else nothing's gonna happen. Now the spider bites you and you have 20 micrograms of radioactive venom coursing through your bloodstream, emitting alpha particles that is smashing into cellular structures inside of your cells and punching holes in your DNA. If the venom stayed in your bloodstream, after a week you would have absorbed the same full body dose that you'd want to absorb over 20 years in just 1 week. And after a month, you would start to notice some changes in your blood cell count because now you have non-fatal but still totally really bad radiation sickness. Yay. The reality is, if a truly radioactive spider bit you, it either wouldn't be radioactive enough to do anything to your body, or it would be so radioactive that just a tiny amount of its venom would start taking a bone saw to your DNA. Oh yeah. And broken DNA doesn't give you superpowers, it gives you cancer. This is why later interpretations of Spider-Man's origin story leaned into a genetically engineered spider with genetically engineering venom. And I know I may have just knocked your hopes and dreams of being Spider-Man off of a tall bridge and you tried to save it with a web, but you couldn't. So maybe let's take this question in a different direction. What if you were bitten by the most radioactive spider in the world? If a radioactive spider had the most radioactive venom, it would become literally the most toxic animal on Earth. When we say something is radioactive, like this ominous hunk of metal here, what do we actually mean? Well, you've probably heard of half-life, right? It's the amount of time it takes for half of a radioactive material to decay away. And if we know this amount of time and how many atoms are in this hunk of metal, we can calculate how many of those nuclear decay events happen every second. And the more that happen per second, the more radioactive something is. Makes sense. For example, let's say that this hunk of metal is actually radium-226, an isotope of radium. It would make this metal one of the most radioactive substances on Earth. If we had a kilogram of radium-226 right here, it would be throwing out 36 trillion particles every single second. And because these particles to it, but it's not the most dangerous. This is just a few milligrams of polonium-210. It was discovered and named after Poland in 1898 by Marie and Pierre Curie. It was the first element to be discovered by its extreme radioactivity alone. Here I have just a few milligrams of it, just a snowflake's worth of mass, and it still literally glows blue in air because the particles it's throwing off as it decays are ionizing the air around it. Polonium-210 isn't the most radioactive substance that we know of, but it might be one of the scariest because the particles it's throwing off carry very high energies. Those particles don't travel very far in air though, so you could stand about this far away from it and you'd be fine. But if this got into your body, you'd now be in contact with one of the most toxic substances on Earth. So let's put it in our spider's venom. The most radioactive spider on Earth is about to bite us during our field trip and inject us with a Black Widow's worth of polonium-210 in liquid form. Wait, for math first, you know that. Spider math. We know the radioactivity of polonium-210. We know how much mass is going to be in your bloodstream from the bite, and we know how much energy each one of those decaying particles will have and impart to your body. We are going to consider what this does to you over the course of a day if you have Spider-Man's mass. If you were bit by the most radioactive spider at man's mass. If you were bit by the most radioactive spider, after just a day, you would absorb an entire body dose of 3 grays. You would feel nauseous, confused, you would start throwing up, and then you lose all your hair. A week after being bitten by this spider, you would have absorbed a total of 23 grays. You're going into shock, you're in and out of consciousness, your organs are failing. For context, the 100% lethal dose, even with medical treatment, starts at 8 grays. You are not waking up with nerd abs after this. If our spider's venom was as radioactive as polonium-210, the amount of venom it would need to inject into you to do something to your body in the form of definitely killing you would be just a single microgram, less than a third the mass of a single grain of sand. Polonium-210 is so radioactive that it doesn't really have any uses outside of just being radioactive as a source of radiation for heating up space probes in space with radioactivity and being used as a very potent poison. I guess though it would put the venom in venom. So, what would really happen to you if you were bitten by a radioactive spider? Well, the comics got a lot right. You can, in theory, make a spider radioactive. Spiders only bite people in extreme situations, and if a radioactive spider bit you, it could, in theory, do something to your body. However, that something could either be almost nothing or so much that instead of wall climbing powers and shooting webs out and stuff, you have the powers of nausea and organ failure? Honestly, the most unbelievable part of Spider-Man's origin story isn't that radioactivity did something to Peter Parker, it's that a spider jumped to his hand and bit him in the first place. Because science. To me, my spiders, all of you, yes, to their basements we go, to lie and wait in the dark. Neutron activation can be a serious concern, especially if you're working around things that emit radiation and emit neutrons. It can make things like your workspace radioactive. I actually got this sticker which says, caution, radioactive material potentially activated. I got this at a national laser lab because what they do there can actually emit neutrons into the surrounding environment and activate material. So they build most of the lab out of. This episode of Because Science is sponsored by the science of Mortal Kombat. These are the most evil plants that poison ivy could control.
Oh my god. Whoa. Oh. Oh. Because they're also. Oh my god.
Yoink! Yoink! Ha ha ha! Yoink! Ha 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 ha! You got great! Go!
Bubby.
Yeah, looks like you're winning this game, man. Yeah. Just don't choke. I know how you like to do it sometimes. Just go in those own measures. Oh, no. Yeah. What you got? Ooh. Ooh. Nice shot, though. Nice shot, though.
Hey! 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 Hey!
Salmon and asparagus.
Ooh. Alright, I gotta go. Don't burn the kitchen down.
Alright, I'm gonna try not to.
Love you.
too.
Well, goddamn.
This is my voice last day of PlayStation.
This is my voice 1 week on Xbox. Mom, what's your put my batteries? This is
Goddamn.
This is my voice last day of PlayStation.
This is my voice 1 week on Xbox. Mom, what's your put my batteries? This is my voice 2 weeks on Xbox. 3 weeks on it. Mom, we need batteries.
There's something wrong with my turtle. Larry, speak to me. No!
We got a Hollowell.
Yeet!
We got a Hollowell.
Yeet!
Poppy.
Hamburger. Hamburger. Hamburger.
Poppy.
Hamburger. 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 Hamburger.
Oh, you's a genius.
Ah, here we go again. Ah, here we go again.
Okay, bet. One night stand. Listen very closely. I only want to see you in the AM. Don't ask me no goddamn questions. Oh yeah, don't forget to lose my damn number. Damn questions. One night stand. Listen very closely. I only want to see you in the AM. Don't ask me no goddamn questions. Oh yeah, don't forget to lose my damn number.
So, just making pizza at my youth group. You want to say hi? Yeah.
Hi, I'm a youth.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a youth.
EAE, yay.
Attention all